Okay, Shyok, let me just get this over with. The Way I Am sucks. Attention, single, but sucks. I don't even think we need to go through the rest of the album. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Noah and Alyssa. That's why I should change the channel name to.
Change it to
Noah and Alyssa.
Third time? Second time?
Yeah, just the second time. And we are going to be reviewing Voicenotes by Charlie Puth. This is because Shyok reviewed One Day at a Time by Codaline and then said that Alyssa had to review Voicenotes. So we decided we were going to do it. Yes, I already reviewed it before, but this is like a redux review for me. But I am going to let Alyssa take the lead. I'm just going to throw in a couple minor thoughts because this is her review. So I'm going to pass it off to her.
Yeah, so as he said, I'm doing this for Shyok because he had offended me with his score for One Day at a Time. But I am not going in to reviewing Voicenotes biasly. Biasly, is that a word?
Go for it.
Biased. I listened to it 3 times. I wrote a lot of notes down. I have thoughts, and so let's get to it.
Okay, so you said you were going to start with talking about the singles.
Yeah, so I looked it up, and I think there were, 5 singles? I'm not sure. I only knew 3 of them. No. Yeah, 3 of the singles just from what was released on the radio, and that was Attention, How Long, and Done For Me. So, those 3, based on whenever I first heard them on the radio, I wasn't like a huge fan of them. I'd listen to them. It wasn't like with some songs that I would hear on the radio, I just changed the station. I'd listen to them, but I was like, I don't know if it's ever really something I'd want to visit, which I never did. I never went and listened to Voicenotes on my own until Shyok forced me to. So Attention is the one that I knew the best, obviously. I feel like it's probably the most popular, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I think it's a good single. I think it was good for the radio, but it definitely didn't make me want to go to it. I thought it was a little overplayed on the radio, and by my siblings and things like that. I like How Long better. I know it a lot less than Attention, probably because of the popularity that how much it was played. I don't really have a reason why I like it better, which is a trend with me in music.
Yeah.
But I feel like it sounds kind of similar to Attention, but there's a different thing that it has going on, and I like it better.
Yeah, both are funk bass driven.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it sounds kind of similar. And Done For Me, I think, is the best of the singles that I knew before. So I feel like it sounds even more different from the other ones, and it's very catchy, and I just really enjoyed listening to that one out of the 3 main singles that I already knew.
Yeah, obviously I was different because I listened to this album when it came out, and I was pretty excited about it. I feel I was looking forward to it, so I really liked Attention, and How Long. Done For Me was good, and I don't know, I think that If You Leave Me Now was released as a single. I don't know what else was, but yeah, I was really liking a lot of the singles. It's a different sound than what I feel like you traditionally hear. Charlie Puth has a pretty good melodic voice, and just definitely that bass funk. It was good. That stands out, and it was something that caught my attention. So I was excited for this project when it first came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember him actually, when Attention got released, we were walking into school one day, and he goes, I'm just really excited for this Charlie Puth album. I was like, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so let's get started on the actual album. So the first song, The Way I Am, I really like the beginning of it. And that is a trend throughout the entire album. I really like the beginning, but by the time the chorus or the pre-chorus or whatever you want to call it hits. We were having a debate about it the other day. That's where I start to get kind of lost on the songs. But The Way I Am, I just really like it, but it starts to sound very similar to kind of a lot of the other songs on the album, and so the first 5 songs, I feel like they just all sound the same, but that's mainly goes for the chorus part. I feel like by the beginning is very distinct, very different, and maybe even like the verses too, but by the chorus, I feel like they all just have the same like drums and the drum beats and just the general sound behind the lyrics, and the way even down to the way like Charlie Puth is singing the lyrics, because obviously it's his voice, he just can't change his voice, but like in some songs the way he's singing them sounds very different, but they all just bled into each other. Especially the first time I listened to them, I had no background on them. Even like Attention, I knew Attention so well just from hearing it, and I was just like, it just sounds so much like the other first 5. The only one that I feel like doesn't quite sound like it is, I think it's number 3, and it's LA Girls, which when we talk about our favorites and least favorites, it is probably my least favorite on the album, if not
because of the guitar.
I don't remember why I said it wasn't my least favorite. I didn't write it down. I wasn't a fan of the lyrics or the sound, and it might have been the guitar, and I don't remember. But like I said, it does stand out more than the others that are surrounding it. But it's very repetitive. I feel like it really doesn't say anything. I don't like the chorus at all. At least on the chorus on the other ones, I feel like they sound the same, but I like them better than this one. I do not like this. I do not like LA Girls in its chorus. It does not jump out at me, other than the fact that I'm just like, I don't want to hear it. Do you have anything to say?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So By the Time song 6 hits, which is Patient. I like this song. I like it quite a bit. It's a nice change from the first 5, because like I said, they all sound so different, but it's slower. It's not quite so, funk based, I guess. I'm not sure how to describe it. I'm not a music reviewer. But I do feel like it's a good change from the beginning. I like the direction it kind of pushes the album in.
Do you think it's good because it isn't the same as the rest, or you think it's good because you actually like it?
Both.
Okay.
I think it's good because it's different. I think it's good because it kind of changes the tone of the album. I feel like it's good lyrically. I think it's good, like just the overall sound is good. Right. I think it's a good song, and I think maybe it should have been placed further in front, like more into the first half of the album. Maybe not song 6, because by the time you get through those first 5, it's all the same, and then it's just like this sudden like chop and goes off. I feel like it still works within the album because they all have the same kind of sound going through them. But I don't know. It's not my favorite, but I think it is a good song, and I feel like it's a good change.
Ironically, I'd probably say it's one of my least favorites. I'd throw that with a song we haven't got to yet, but I'd say it's one of my least favorites. It's just not as interesting, and I get what you've been saying about the sounding similar. And even I thought that with just Attention and How Long when they came out, because I'll frequently like accidentally be singing the other one when I think I'm singing the opposite. Yeah. So I totally get that. I think that's a valid criticism. It doesn't necessarily bother me quite as much as it does you. I know just from listening to it with you. But I totally get that criticism. Yeah, continue.
So if you leave me now, I don't really have a ton to say. But I did make a comment to Noah the first listen through that I think it sounds like a Christmas song, and I think it mainly comes from like the acapella slow song style that it's going for. But I just heard it and I go, that's a Christmas song. It's not a criticism of the song. I don't think it's a bad song. Again, I think it's good. I was debating whether it was one of my favorites for a while. I didn't put it on my favorites, but yeah, I thought it was a little silly that it kind of sounded like a Christmas song. I thought you guys should hear that too. This is how my mind works as a music reviewer.
No, I like If You Leave Me Now. I think it's a good song. It's a really strong hook. Definitely a change in pace from the rest of the album.
For sure.
Because yeah, totally a cappella with snaps.
Yeah.
So I really like it though. I think that I feel like Charlie Puth's voice fits in with Boyz II Men. Not saying any, like, all I'm saying is that they seem to complement each other well. And yeah, it's a solid song.
Yeah, I'm glad you had more to say, because all I had to say was, it sounds like a Christmas song. It's okay, it's a good song. Okay, so as I want to mention the One Day at a Time album in this a lot, but this is the one time I'm actually going to mention it, and I feel like this album kind of runs into a point that I made in our video about that, and this is the only reason I'm mentioning it, is that it's a lot of lyrics that are just lyrics for lyrics and filler, but they aren't really saying a lot. But Noah and I had been talking about it, and it is a pop album, and I don't really feel, and we had been talking about, like, what can you expect from it, or like how, like, for me, I expect lyrics that are just deep and meaningful and from Codaline, so I put that as a fault for that album. But I don't feel like it is a fault for this album, because I feel like I like them for the most part. I mean, they're a little repetitive for my liking, or
and she hates repetition.
I don't like repetition. In some cases I do, but most of the time, if it's very noticeable, it's usually something that does not stick with me very well. But I feel like for this album, the lyrics do well. I feel like they do well with the music and the style and all of it that he's going for. And they are very catchy. The repetitiveness of it, and how they, like, kind of bleed into each other, they kind of all have very similar themes, is the only thing I'd fault on them. But I feel like that the lyrics that are just lyrics aren't a fault for this one, whereas where I mentioned it in the One Day at a Time, it kind of was for me. Yeah,
and I also think a big difference can be whether it's outright cheesy or just pointless. Like I've mentioned, now I'm gonna bring up Codaline, but in Sometimes, I mentioned to her that I love Sometimes, but I do not like when he talks about putting a podcast on. I don't know why. It's just one of those lyrics that, like, just doesn't quite fit to me. It seems like too, like, obviously people listen to podcasts, but it seems like too, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. It's an emotional song, but then it just seems like a little dorky, cheesy lyric. So I get it. Like, yeah, there's a big difference between cheesy and then just not substantial. So go ahead.
Well, I only have, like, one more point to make about the overall album, at least.
Okay.
Then I have my favorites and least favorites. I have a few things to say about those, but the last song, I don't even remember.
Through It All.
I feel like that is, compared to the rest, so forgettable. I could not tell you how it goes. I don't even remember what I said. I said it varies, but it's not a good varying from the rest of the album. I feel like, I don't know, and this might just be me from having listened to it only 3 times ever, and it was all right almost in a row. But every time we listened to it, I was like, I do not remember the last song. And then I started to remember it, and I was just like, it's not that great. It's fine. I feel like for a last song, it's really weak. It's a weak last song. The rest of the album is just so much more, like, powerful before it. It's just like really distinct beats, and that is something that I also really like. I do like kind of like the funky undertone thing that he has mixing in with the pop sounds that I do like, but I just the only thing is I just wish it wasn't used quite so much in the
Right.
same ways on so many songs. But this last song, I don't
You don't know how it
I
goes.
don't like, yeah, I don't like, I remember I didn't like the message behind it. I was just, I don't know, it just kind of seemed like a bad last song. Maybe earlier in the album it would have been fine, but I don't have a better suggestion for what the last song should have been, but not that one.
I see your next thing is favorites.
Yeah.
So I can go ahead and say Through It All would be one of my favorites.
Wow.
It's a strong. We disagree. I feel like we agree on the most part, but but we do have two, Patient and Through It All, which we didn't talk about much of this. We just talked about a couple things. But I really like Through It All. It's like a really triumphant final note for the album, and
Hard to disagree.
I think that it's just like a overcoming your obstacles kind of song, and like I think it's a solid song. It's one of my favorites. Go ahead with your favorites.
Well, okay, yeah. So my favorites I think are Slow It Down and Somebody Told Me. Slow It Down I think was very catchy and different. I don't really have a lot to say on why it's my favorite. Yeah, it just stuck out to me quite a bit, and I liked it. And Slow It Down, or not Slow It Down, Somebody Told Me, I feel like it is the most catchy one. I feel like it stands out the most out of all of the other songs on the album. At least it did to me whenever I heard it. I was like, this one doesn't sound quite so much like the rest of them. And I really, just those two I just really enjoyed. I enjoyed them. I didn't go back and save them.
But you will be.
But I probably will be. And I probably will go back and save a few more on the album. I just, for some reason, forgot to do them. But for sure, those two, I do like them and think they should go on my, songs.
Yeah. I agree with both of those songs. Both of those songs would be on my list. I would also pull out Attention and How Long. I mean, I'm going to name a lot. Attention and How Long, Done For Me, If You Leave Me Now, and then obviously Through It All. Honestly, all of those songs are great. I really like a lot of them. I agree with everything she's said. Attention and How Long, I know she got tired of the repetition, but those two definitely stand out in that field of the repetition that she's feeling. And I definitely think it is solid. Yeah, I really like those songs. Those definitely stand out in the crowd.
Okay, so what? Least favorites now? So I already mentioned LA Girls and why I, again, don't really like the repetitiveness. I'm not really a big fan of just the overall sound, song that's going on behind. I don't feel like it's saying anything in the chorus. Do not like it. I don't like that chorus. It is not a good one. Boy, not a good song. It is not a good song. I did not like that one either. And I feel like it also goes back to the chorus. Whenever I was listening to it, I just go, this feels like a mess. It just feels like a mess of a song. Back to just not really doing anything with it. It's just, I just didn't like it.
I like Boy. I don't have much more to say, but I do like Boy.
I don't remember. There's a specific part, but I don't like about the chorus that I just really just bothers me the way he's singing it, I think. But in the song, there's this random keyboard solo kind of thing, and it just is like, what is going on here? I didn't even notice it until the third time listening to it. And I would go, what in the world? I was like, what do you even describe this as now? And he was just keyboard solo. And I was like, okay, that's good. If you listen to the song and it's not a keyboard solo, you can comment what you think it is. But that part bothers me a lot. It just does not seem like it fits in with any of the rest of the song.
Yeah.
And then my least favorite is Change. So I thought it was fine the first time listening through. I was like, okay, this isn't a bad song. It doesn't really have anything that stands out. Not my favorite, but not my least favorite. And then by the time we were listening to it for the third time, I started really listening to the lyrics. I didn't even think I looked them up, and I go, I feel like this is not an okay song. I feel like it's actually lyrically a little problematic. It's, first of all, cheesy, and I feel like it really just simplifies it, like dumbs down a lot of problems that are in the world to, like, why can't we just get over them kind of thing, whenever there's a lot more things that need to go on first before people can just get over things. And change that needs to happen in other ways. So I feel like he could have had a really good song with this one lyrically, but I feel like the direction he went in, specifically with the lyrics, and I might not have written these down word for word, but it's, the world can change the day we all realize that we're the same. Why can't we just get along? It just that's not how it works, Charlie. I feel like it's a little problematic in the way, at least he's wording it, even if that's not what he means. I get what he means, and I kind of get the, and I made a comparison. I won't make that here for the sake of just avoiding causing problems.
Discourse.
Causing discourse. But I told him an example, and you got what I was saying, right?
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like it's just kind of like, here's the actual road to the problem. It's a big zigzag, and he's just like, let's just go right through that, and there's no reason to go through all the other steps, and I feel like that's not okay.
Like the people that are saying, like, all we should do is just hug people of different ethnicities, and that will solve racism, whereas this is much deeper problem
it's much deeper. Than
just hugging each other.
Yeah, why? I'm just not a fan of that. It's repetitive, it's boring, it's causing it's calling for a change, but it's not which is good. It's a good thing to call for a change, but it's not in the way that it should be done, in my opinion. Yeah. So
my least favorites, Change and Patience, or Patient, right?
Yeah.
Right. Just don't stand out. Change, I actually didn't like it the first time I heard it, but I never quite I just wrote it off as just a cheesy love everybody kind of song, but she makes a good point, so I hopped on the bandwagon with her, so she's totally right on that. So I'm gonna throw in my only comment. I've been wanting to leave the floor to her, but it is over the whole album. Honestly, I have a lot of praise to give to this album, and I think it's really solid. Again, a solid pop album. My only real criticism that I have is that the production's so weak, and I know, from what I understand, I think Charlie Puth did this whole thing in GarageBand, from what I understand, so it makes sense. I mean, there's a ton of technical limitations, and it's impressive that he got such an impressive album out of it. If that's true, I heard that years ago, so I don't actually know if this is true, but I think it is. So the production is just kind of flimsy at times. It's really quiet and doesn't have a lot of depth to it, which doesn't help with his more falsetto vocals. It kind of just makes it I realize, I guess I was gonna say that it kind of bleeds into the music in a way. It still stands out, but it bleeds in the fact that it just kind of doesn't punctuate the song any. But I guess it is voice notes, and so I guess, using your voice as an instrument, blah blah blah, you got it. Ultimately, weak production, that's the main thing that I wanted to throw in there. Okay, closing thoughts for you?
It was fine. It was a fine album. I think for a pop album, like I said before, I think it does it good. I feel like it definitely is good for playing on the radio, the singles at least. I feel like those are good attention grabbers, maybe especially for people who don't like some of the other things like me that play on typical pop radio stations. Because I did like them more than those other things. They just didn't personally make me want to listen to the album, and I think listening to it, I still agree with that. It's not for me. It's not music that's made for my taste. It's not something that I would just go to automatically. If Noah makes me playlists every month, and if he would have put one of these songs on a playlist, I don't think I probably would have just automatically wanted to save it like I do some of the other things he recommends me. I probably, maybe after listening to it a few times and kind of getting used to it, I might like I will go back and save some of them, but it's just not, first listen is not personally my my music choice. But I think for what it is, I think it's a good pop album. Repetitive, kind of sounds the same bleeding in, but good.
All right, so drastic change in camera quality. My phone ran out of storage. I had 2 gigabytes and I used them all. So back to where we were. So what's your rating?
My rating for Voicenotes is 6.5. I think I am happy with that.
Sorry, Shio.
Yeah, sorry, Shio. Don't hate me, but it's above a 6, so you have to listen to In a Perfect World and Coming Up for Air like you promised.
Okay.
You can't take that back. I have the messages.
I think that this album stands best as individual songs. It's definitely not an album that I feel like I want to re-listen to all the time, which I think would justify your problems with it sounding repetitive, and that I would much rather just throw on a couple of these songs and listen to it all the way through. Yeah. It's not that I think it's a bad album. Honestly, even the songs I don't like, I'd probably listen to just fine if they came on shuffle. So I don't really care about like dislike anything strongly. It just doesn't necessarily work for me as a cohesive project that I want to listen to from start to finish. Not necessarily for the repetition. It's just, I don't know, kind of got a little monotonous for me eventually. Sorry, Shyok. So it did shrink on me from my original score, which was apparently an 8. I'm not going as low as her, though. I've been bouncing between it the whole time we've been talking, and I'm not quite positive what I want to give it. But the production issue stood out to me a lot more, and I think that's why I would give it a 7.5, but I think that production issue, something that I honestly never even noticed and thought was fine on my first listen, became something that actually did bother me. So it's going to a 7 out of 10 for me. So, good review. Man, we're on a roll. 3 videos in a week. Thank you guys for watching this. You have anything you want to add?
One day at a time is better than Voicenotes.
All right, so now we are going to go get some cupcakes. And we will see you guys later.